A violent storm swept through the Rome, Italy, unleashed torrential rain, thunder and gale force winds and left parts of the capital flooded and paralyzed. Within a minute, several cobblestones were turned into raging rivers. Cars were submerged and public transport ground to the area. It was terrifying. The sky turned completely black, said Lucia Bianchi, a resident near the Vatican. The wind howled like a jet engine, and lightning struck so close it shook the windows. The storm struck during the rush hour, catching thousands of communities of Guard. Firefighters received over 400 emergency calls for flooded homes. Down a twist, stranded motorists. It is a trustworthy and austere district. Strong winds tore off roofs, titles and troop scooters, where several metro stations were forced to close due to the rising water levels. Meteorologists described the storm as one of the most intense in recent years. Flooded a sharp crash between the humid African air and the cold Atlantic currents of the central Italy. Palermo, Italy. A powerful storm swept through the Sicilian capital overnight, unleashed torrential rain, violent winds, and lifting parts and plunged parts of the city into chaos. The downpour, which began late Sunday, lasted several hours of flooded major roads, homes, and businesses across Palermo and nearly town. According to the Italy Civil Protection Agency, over 19 millimeters of rain fell in 2 hours, one of the hardest rainfall recorded in recent years. The city instant drainage system was quickly overwhelmed, tuning main arteries with the valley region Sicily in the fast-flowing rivers. Cars were seen drifting through the streets and emergency crews raising their rescue stand driver. It was like a waterfall pouring from the sky, said resident Lucia Bianchi. Those ground flood apartment was submerged. I lived these 40 years and never seen a rain like this. Authorities reported dozens of emergency inquiries from the clearing fallen trees and rescue elderly residents trapped flooded buildings. Several neighboring, including Zero, Monsetta and Partinico, suffered blackouts after lightning strikes damaged power lines. The Mediterranean has become a beginning ground the superchanging storm, said Dr. Elisa Conte, a climate researcher at La Suspend University. Social media filmed the dramatic video showing lightning illumination the Coliseum have covered the Spanish steps, and a water cascading down ancient starways. In some neighborhoods, power outage left hundreds of homes in the darkness for hours. Authorities have urged caution a cleanup continuing. Rome major paralyzed emergency crew for the rapid response by afternoon the city again drained drainage system remain the major vulnerability. We must adapt. This is a new climate reality, she said. For many Romans, the storm served as a powerful reminder for even the eternal city is not immune the ground through the extreme weather. As Dame Bro, Sunlight, related, the city's story scarred, they still standard resilience as ever. Ferry service on Naples and Cagliari were suspended due to rough sea. The Sicily team network was shut down after electrical damage on overheat lines. Meteorologists said the storm was followed by the powerful Mediterranean low-pressure system, parts of the growing pattern of Mediterranean, like a storm that resembled a tropical cyclone. Temperatures dropped sharply following this storm, and hail the size of violent damage was records and cities orange in the surrounding countryside. Regional Governor Renato Fiumicino called the event wake all of the Sicily, emphasizing the urgent need to improve drainage and fluid difference. We can no longer train trees to rare incidents. We said they are becoming by new normal. Video circulated online showing people wading through the waist-deep water in Palermo Historic Center, while rescue used inflatable boats to reach stranded residents near the pizza, electricity outage, and thousands without electricity overnight. The schools were ordered closed and crew cleared debris and restored infrastructure. Climate experts warn that Sicily is one of the dense urban layout and against infrastructure is increasingly exposed to extreme weather linked to global warming. Rome was gripped because late Tuesday a violent storm swept across the Italian capital, bringing torrential rain, hail and lightning strikes had pounded the parts of the city in darkness. Within an hour, the storm transformed cobblestone streets into rivers and flooded metro tunnels, leaving the residents stranded in an emergency service stretcher within. The Italian Civil Protection Department confirmed over 800 emergency calls overnight. Streets surrounding Pisa, Venezia, Termini station in Vatican was much under the constant metro of Local media reported dozens of vehicles stranded with the fallen trees, parked cars and blocked tramlines. I felt like the sky was collapsing, said Francesca Rinaldi, the residents of Trastevere. The thunder was constant, it shook windows, when hail was steadily hitting the roof. I threw the glass would shatter. Meteorologists described the storm as parts of the Mediterranean supercell, feeling the unstably warm sea and the cold wind with the cold front moving south from the Alps. When we reached 19 km per hour, and hailstorm the size of walnuts by 20 Dramatic footage circulated online showing lightning strikes near the Brazilian illumination St. Petersburg sky and the flashing era wide. The Tiber rivers were rapidly prompted warning to the residents living along the banks. Rome against infrastructure is not built in such intensify, such Professor Enzo Mariani, a climate analyst from the Super University. This is another reminder that climate change is making extreme weather for more frequent is unpredictable across southern Europe. A violent storm swept through Palermo city late Monday night, and led to torrential rain, violent winds and powerful lightning strikes that brought the historic city to near its standstill. When in just 2 hours rainfall levels exceeded those typical seen in entire month, turning roads into raging rivers and threatened dozens of motorists in submerged tunnels. Emergency service declared a state of alert. Firefighters carried out more than 500 rescue operations across the metropolitan area. Cars were swept away in Villa Leonardo da Vinci. Up to the city burst roads, the residents scampered the high ground as water poured the basements of ground floor apartment. It was terrified, said local residents Maria Conti. The thunder shook in windows in a minute and the streets outside became a river. We could even open the door against the water pressure. Authority temporarily closed Palermo Falcone Pescato Airport at a crossroad exceeded 19 km/h, made landfill unsafe. Rome, Italy. A sudden and violent hailstorm hit the heat of the Rome on a Wednesday afternoon, touched residents and tourists worldwide. When less than an hour hailstorm the size of a golf ball battered the city, breaking windows, dented cars and flooded streets across the central districts, including Trastevere, Prato and Mourning. The noise was different. It sounded like war zone, said Lucia Bianchi, a local shop owner. Shoppers ran for color and hail-smashed safe roads, where quickly flooded the streets and cars were stranded in wasted public boulders. Emergency service reported over the 215 calls for assistance, preliminary for damaged vehicles and flooded basements. Several trees were uprooted by strong winds accompanied the storm, blanket major roads and disrupting public transportation. Rome Metro Line A temporarily halted in affected areas due to water intrusion in tunnel. Meteorologists explained that storm was followed by a clash of warm, humid Mediterranean air with a cold front from the north, producing unusually large hailstones and intense winds. The storm also disrupted air and sea traffic. flights and Fiumicino Airport were delayed and diverted due to strong crosswinds, and a ferry service connecting Sicily to Naples and Cagliari were temporarily suspended. Meteorologists from the Italy Air Force were the service explaining that the storm was triggered by a low-pressure system moving the North Africa, coating with warm air, humid air from the Mediterranean, apart from the intense fire due to rising sea temperatures. Local officials warning that more severe weather will follow. The storms are becoming stronger and more frequent, said Major Roberto Lagana. We must adapt our infrastructure in changing climate. By early morning, the storm had moved eastward, leaving behind the mid-stretch streets, debris and the damaged vehicles. Volunteers, joint fighters and clear efforts with the local characters provided to its families to lose belongings. This event not exactly reminded how South Italy in a frontline of Europe shifting climate where sudden storms, flash flood and recurrent heat waves are now part of a daily life.
Una película. Mire.
The storm described by meteorologists are very unusual for late October. Lasted less than an hour but caused significant disruption. Roads from Pisa, Venezia and Trasteville were covered with white blackened over a misty winter landscape. It was like the end of the world, said Claudia Rossi, owner of a cafe near Campo de Flori. The hail was different. People were running inside, scrambling, the glass shattered from the impact. Emergency services were quickly overwhelmed. The Rome fire breach responded to more than 215 emergency calls about flooded basements, fallen buildings and blocked drains. In some areas, hail blocked drains caused flash flood and flooded cars and forced the temporarily closed for metro station. Meteorologist Marco De Santis at the Italy Air Force Meteorological Service explained that the storm was caused by explosive collisions between warm, moist air from the Mediterranean Sea and a sudden cold front moving south from the northern Italy. The instability creates ideal conditions for the
L'unica cosa buona è che questa è la cosa.
Palermo, the vibrant capital of the city, was the scene of devastation after one of the most violent storms in the recent memory battered the city overnight. Within the few short hours, torrential downpour and hurricane-force winds transformed the sun-drenched Mediterranean cap into the landscape of chaos and destruction. According to Italy's Civil Protection Department, the storm unleashed more than 110 millimeters of rain, equivalent of 2 months of precipitation in less than 3 hours. The city as the drainage system dating back in the 19th century was quickly overwhelmed. Cars flooded through the flooded streets, traffic lights filtered out the entire neighborhood, including Partana, Oreta and Mandela, were cut off by rising water. Local authorities described the event as one in the century Delhi. Major Roberto Lagana urged residents to remain indoors and declared to municipality energy. This is not a simple storm, he told reporters. It is a climate disaster that included people down the marble online captured the shocking moment when the firefighters walking through the night with families. attract the constant fluid following the bridge from the Via Roma and the Pisa Pilatina. At least 13 people were seriously and minor injured, while several workers were reported missing after being swept away by the flash flood. Local hospitals operated on emergency generators as a power outage rippled through the city's port. Events like this are increasingly frequent and intense due to climate change, warning the Dr. Sofia Romano, climatologist of the University of Rome. Historic sites were not spared. Pisa, Navona, and Campo de Flori was underwater, while protective measures were quickly deployed at the Coliseum and Roman Forum to prevent damage to existing structure. Nearby tourists sought shelters under the coffee means of the lighting up to stormy sky. Power outage affected thousands of homes, and local authority urged residents to avoid unnecessary travel. Schools in the most affected districts were closed for the remainder of the day. Insurance companies have already begun assistance to extensive property damage, with a preliminary estimate to reach millions of euros. Rome Major Roberto Gualtieri praised the rapid response of emergency crews and emphasizing civil vulnerability and increasingly extreme weather. "We must strengthen our infrastructure and preparedness," he said, as the storm subsided. Local emergency to assess the damage swept debris for the streets and helped with stranded vehicles. Despite the chaos, Romans remain resilient. Rome has seen centuries of storm, said Mourning County, a resident, when during were rebuilt and life goes on.
I'd say so, Bob. This is a big storm.
The temperature dropped by almost 10 degrees in less than an hour, said Dr. Lucia Bianchi, the climatologist and at the University in Rome. Social media quickly filmed the dramatic image. River for ice falling down, Villa di Corso lighting illumination, soon appeared above the sky, and tourists driving for cover and a hailstone the size of a marble ball spotted at the cobblestones. Thunder rumbled between the ancient walls, creating the entire soundtrack of the city landmark. Public transport came to the up with the parts of the metro and tram network suspended due to flooding. Flights and Fiumicino Airport were temporarily delayed as the crew cleared ice from the runways. Local authority brought in the clear crews through the night, while working around the clock to restore safety, said Major Roberto Gianni, urged residents to stay indoors and avoid necessary travel. Although no casualties were reported, at least 6 people separate minor injured from the fallen debris and hailstones. Insurance companies estimated that the damage in millions of euros, especially to the vehicles and businesses with an open space.
Gitti vallahi gitti, her şey gitti.
Rome, Italy. In a ray of terrifying weather event, the Italian capital was struck by a sudden hailstone that transformed in the city golden autumn in the scene in the destruction. The streets around the Colosseum, Piazza Navona, and the vegetation were covered in a white blanket of torrent of water, ice flooding Rome in a matter of minutes. The hailstones came almost without warning. First there was the light rain, and then bang, everything turned white. Recalled Luca Marina, a taxi driver who was stuck near Termini station. Hailstones the size cone there, hidden by the white rain, so hard that I thought it would crack. The storm lasted just under 14 minutes, but its effect was severe. Trees were uprooted, dozens of cars were damaged, and several areas including San Giovanni and Trastevere experienced power outage. Emergency service reported for the 300 calls per hour due to flooding, standing driver and collapsing avenue. Meteorologists described the event of atmospheric fog, comment that warm Mediterranean air cooled it with a cold Arctic and that descended over the central Italy.
Robe da matti! Mamma mia! Chiudi!
Residents come pouring the cars, and the steam from disaster filmed the noise was different, said Andrea Messina, a shop owner near Teatro Messina. It felt like the sky opened about us, hail, winds, thunder, and once and meteorologists attribute the storm and a cut of flow. A cold air remains trapped in the central Mediterranean that collided with the humid air from the Africa, and the received an explosive weather. The event highlighted the turbulent trend. Italy has forced a 40% increase in the extreme rainfall over the past decade. In aftermath, clean-up crew worked to remove debris and restore essential service while local volunteers distributed food and blankets of those displaced. Schools and public officials reminded closer authority as damaged the city's aging infrastructure. At Fiumicino Airport, flights were delayed due to the winds gust reaching 64 mph, where commuters at Termini station faced power outage and cancellations. In the Vatican, lightning struck near St. Peter Basilica, brilliantly cut power to parts of Vatican City. It was both terrifying and strangely beautiful, said tourist Emily Carter from the UK. The thunder echoing across the square like cannon shot. Meteorologists of the Italian Severe Protection Agency linking of the severity of the storm and unusual capital hit the Mediterranean, which followed stronger connective system. We are seeing extreme weather events with a great frequency, explained climatologist Elena Ferrin. Storms like these, one of the rare, are becoming dangerously new normal. Across the Laser region, trees were uprooted, cars damaged in a coastal town hit by high waves. In Ostia, residents reported sea fought from flood debris in the streets along the seafront. Preliminary estimates suggest that the damage could exceed $20 million. At dawn, Romans come out and the ashes of the aftermath. Ancient monuments glistering under the plain sun, surrounding the mud and debris. Yet amid the destruction, there was a resilience. Rome was overcome worst moments in the history.
Mirá acá con la velocidad que viene un contenedor, está aplastando gente, el auto ese se va.
Video posted on social media showed hailstones up to 15 centimeters in the side, with Romans cleared sidewalks and shovels and boots. Tourist Nicolazine and Trevi Fonte took shelters under umbrellas, captured dramatic footage and marble-sized ice balls bouncing for the ancient stones. Authority urged cautions for the night time. Temperatures dropped, tuning wet streets in a dangerously slippery surface. Public transport was severely disrupted, with the trams and buses delayed for hours. Rome Major Roberto Galliari praised emergency service for their rapid response and promised to investigate the city drainage infrastructure, with a case long be critical for the instability to the cope with a sudden downpour. Rome is facing for more recurrent and intense weather events. We must adapt our system. Climatologists note that extreme weather events, including hailstones in the southern Europe, have increased by 14% for the past decade. This is a clear signal for climate change, warned Dr. Lucia Bianchi at the University of Bologna.